All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's going on, everybody? Talking some hoops right from the golf show, Hoop and Tambo, talking some NBA. 5-game slates. I prefer the 7s, the 8s, the 9s, but hey, NBA's NBA, a lot of money to be made. Hope everybody out there having a good Tuesday afternoon. Throw it to my man Rio. What is going on over there? I like the hat, like the background. What is going on, my man? How you doing?
Yeah, speaking about your background, you got the new setup, got the Giannis in the background. Now you got the double monitor setup. Yeah, things are good though. I think that historically, SHIPIT has had a lot of success on these smaller slates, so I'm definitely excited to talk it through. Obviously, we got a lot of chalk forming on some certain spots with these injuries: John Morant, Cade Cunningham, Jakob Poeltl. So definitely do a good job breaking all that stuff down. But yeah, for sure excited for some hoops on this nice Tuesday afternoon.
Absolutely. Yeah, it might it's gonna take me. I've been on the Mac for years now, ever since I started. Now 2 monitors, Windows. It might take me a little bit. The camera's all messed up. Like if you're staring at it, it's like not at my screens exactly. We'll figure it out as time goes. Appreciate everyone hanging out though. Gotta say, a lot of familiar faces in chat. Let's say hi to all of them. Pairby's in here, Evan's in here. Justin, Mark, Michael, Nades, what's going on, Nades, Aubrey, Jordan coming off the monster 20K, live final seat in golf. Jake, what's going on, my man? Richie Smalls, Romy, Go Collect. Appreciate everyone hanging out. Only them so far. All we ask from you guys, like button, subscribe button. Helps us out a ton. And if you do want to be a member, no better time. Golf in full force. MMA is back. NFL playoffs, NBA. Head over to ShipItNation.com. Weekly, monthly, 6-month, and annual packages all do include the Discord, except the weekly package. So many sports, a lot of money to be made. You've been doing a great job, again, with NBA Rio. Projections updated throughout the night. Ownership, slate plan, upper tier, mid-tier, lower tier. Rio ranks guys. Showdown core report. Hey, tonight, if you cannot get the early games, maybe you got to drive home from work or whatever, 1 game on the island, pretty big prize pools late. We will have content for that, as always. John, what is going on, man? Hope everything going well with you. Jake has the lettuce flowing. Not gonna lie, so this it might be mullet season pretty soon over here. So I had to let it out. One more time. I've been talking about it for years. We'll see if I pull the trigger, but the wife is she's telling me to do so, and I've wanted to. So I think it might be mullet season soon. Had to let the flow go out. The Bieber, as everyone calls it, let it out maybe one more time. So we will see over here. Enough of that, though. Rio, any thoughts on this slate or any fun, anything going on in your life that you want to say? It's only 5 games, but what's going on in your life? If you want anything to say, otherwise this 5-gamer, the story of the slate besides the Memphis Grizzlies, because Ja is out and pricing was released before that Ja news yesterday. So Memphis is the story of the slate in my eyes.
Yeah, I mean, personally, like not too much has changed. Still grinding NBA every day for you guys. All the slates showed on everything. I guess some cool news. Me and my girlfriend did get a puppy a week or 2 back. I know that we showed you her on Christmas.
Tell them the name and the story.
Oh yeah, so we named her Mally, so Malley, and yeah, the story is kind of just thinking about some things that kind of pertain to me and my girlfriend's relationship, and we're both super big UFC MMA people. Sean O'Malley, one of our favorite fighters, so we just kind of put it together, just named her Mally. It's kind of funny, when you get these foster dogs, they always have these kind of like names that they give them, usually really corny, like, Buttercup or things like that. But the foster named ours Sugar Plum, so it's kind of like flow. It's like Sugar Plum, Sugar Sean O'Malley. So yeah, we named her Mally. But yeah, she's a cute dog, super smart, and I know that Jasmine's probably listening right now, so shout out to her. But yeah, as far as
cute dog. Yeah, very cute dog. Shout out Jasmine. I'm excited to see her in a little over a month here.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, as far as the slate goes, I'm definitely I mean, the main slate's going to be fun for sure, but I think there'll be a little bit of edge on this showdown slate tonight. We haven't had these full slates in a while where they've been leaving off the 7:30, or I guess 10:30 games if you're on the East Coast. But yeah, I'll definitely go over that a little bit when we get to that Laker-Toronto game. But I think that there's a little bit of edge to be had in that game in terms of finding some good value plays that might go overlooked. But yeah, definitely ready to talk about this shorter slate now.
Yeah, so not money Q tags. I mean, LeBron, Jaren Jackson, the biggest news that we are waiting on. LeBron's always questionable. I'll just throw it to you right away there. We'll go injury designations when we go game by game. Like Cade's out, Ja's out. There's definitely important news. A lot of it is already given, though. LeBron's always Q tag. Do you see him suiting up like usual? Then any lean on Jaren Jackson, the two main ones on this slate.
Yeah, I mean, LeBron's probably going to be playing. Yeah, it's more just like a probable Q tag for him, trying to find some days to get him a rest. But I think that he's most likely going to play. As far as the Jaren Jackson stuff goes, I'm not too sure. It's a right knee contusion, so you usually can play through that. But they do have Santi listed with the same injury, and he's doubtful. So wouldn't be surprised if Jaren Jackson sits. I mean, 8-point spread. I'm not too sure how many points Vegas is giving Jaren Jackson, but I think that 8 points is probably about where it should be with this team without Ja. So I think that Jaren Jackson probably plays, but yeah, I don't have a strong lean one way or the other, to be honest.
Yeah, hey, that's important. And how the games go, we got 2 games at 7 p.m. Eastern, 1 game at 7:30, 1 game at 8:30, 1 game at 10:30. And of course, that Memphis game is at 8:30. So there very well probably will be 3 games that have already locked with only 2 other remaining before the Jaren Jackson news. Again, Memphis is already strong plays. Without Ja, the pricing was already out. So I will have a lot of roster flexibility in my lineups, even without that news. If all 3 of those games start, I'm going to be playing plenty of Memphis spots or Memphis Grizzlies. So if he's out, I will have some room to navigate. Starting lineups, of course, always important. Then LeBron and the Lakers at 10:30 Eastern on an island. But that Q tag, I just look at it as a probable tag now, unless you hear some coach speak or really something different. So we'll go game by game like always. Again, appreciate that like button. Appreciate that subscribe button. Appreciate everyone hanging out. Makes these shows more fun. First game of the night, Sacramento Kings headed to Detroit, 240 total. Sacramento is favored by 11. No injury news on the Kings side, but I will say that Underdog tweeted earlier, Kevin Huerter was spotted in a starter shirt, and it has been Chris Duarte. So everyone should be expecting Kevin Huerter to slide in the starting lineup for Duarte, but no injury news on the Kings side. Same cannot be said about Detroit. Got the news today. Cade will be out, 7 to 10 weeks. Very unfortunate there. Killian Hayes will be one of the more popular plays on this slate. Outside of him, they're still without Beef Stew, Isaiah Stewart. So Jalen Duren, I think, solid price tag. Center's solid today, but it's only a 5-game slate. Like Hartenstein's going to get some love. Biz is going to get some love. AD and Randall, but you can play him at power forward. But I don't think center is as strong as it has been in the past. So I think Duren's an interesting option there. Isaiah Liver's been in the starting lineup for Buns Boy, whatever his nuts is that Kevin Knox. They started Livers that day. It's like they were listening to the show, and Livers showed out a little bit. So what are your thoughts on this one? For me, it's a studs. It's Duren, Killian Hayes, obviously on the Detroit side, but Kings I think are going to be pretty unowned. Sabonis, Fox, we have the money on this slate. That's how I'm attacking this one. What about you?
Yeah, this is a really interesting game to kick things off for sure. Obviously, with the Cade stuff, he's leaving behind a ton of usage, a ton of just overall like usage assist numbers. Like he leaves behind 35 minutes. So trying to figure out where that's going to go, it's probably going to be Killian Hayes in the starting lineup. I see him projected. A lot of that usage probably going to funnel to Jaden Ivey as well, but he's pretty priced up for I think his upside. I think that Alec Burks, his role probably remains the same, maybe a little bit more minutes upside, but then, that also brings into the conversation Marcus Sasser. We saw him earlier in the season really have a stretch of good games. So definitely figuring out how it's going to play out is going to be probably the deciding factor in the slate. I think, if you're building single entry type stuff, you're going for Killian Hayes. I think Ivy is definitely fine, but try to talk that through. Yeah, but matchup-wise, the Kings are kind of struggling right now. They're in the bottom 10 in defense, and both these teams are obviously the Pistons are terrible defensively. They're bottom 4th overall defensive rating, but both these teams struggle with their interior defense. Pistons have gotten a little bit better with Jalen Duren back, but they still struggle. So I think Domantas Sabonis is a really strong spend up here. He's had a triple-double in 5 of his last 10 games, so half the games he's getting a triple-double. De'Aaron Fox is in a little bit of a shooting slump right now, so we've seen Domantas Sabonis take on a bigger usage rate over the last 5 games, 25% usage rate, 37% assist percentage. And DVP-wise, good matchup for him. Pistons are bottom 3 in DVP to the center position. I'm wondering if people will catch on to that a little bit. Maybe that gets a little bit more ownership his way. I'm seeing double digits for him. Definitely a strong play, but I think that the DVP is a little bit misleading because just the way that Sabonis racks up his fantasy points, points, rebounds, assists, getting the triple-double. But the Pistons are actually – they give a huge spike in steals and blocks. I think they're – what are they, bottom I don't have the numbers, but they're bottom 4 and bottom 5 in both those numbers in blocks and steals, and that's just not really Sabonis's game. So I think that you can kind of throw the DVP out the window a little bit, and he's still a solid play just matchup-wise, but I hope that people are kind of overemphasizing that a little bit. I do like to spot it a little bit more for De'Aaron Fox, and we're getting less ownership on him in a pretty big shooting slump right now, shooting 37% over his last 5 games. He hasn't topped 49 DK points last 5 games, only got to 10 last game against the Pelicans and Herb Jones. There were some beat writers talking about how he might be a little unhealthy. I'm not sure if that's, maybe a sickness thing or he's just run down from playing so much. But matchup-wise, this is one of the best matchups for opposing guards. The Pistons just have struggled all year long with on-ball defense. They're dead last in points per possession allowed in isolation, and Fox is a top 10 isolation scorer in the whole league. So I think there's a really big path for him to have a huge scoring night. And couple that with really low ownership. I love De'Aaron Fox here. Outside of that, though, I don't really have a ton of interest in the secondary guys. Like Malik Monk could definitely make your player pool. Always has the upside on a night-to-night basis with the scoring off of the bench, but his minutes just can fluctuate from upper teens to mid-30s depending on how things are going for him. And yeah, like you said, Kevin Huerter going to step into the starting lineup. Shouldn't really see that big of a minutes bump. I'd say 26 to 28 is probably the high end. And at 4,400, you're kind of competing with a lot of guys in the same range. Killian Hayes, $100 more. Vince Williams, Luke Kennard, Zaire Williams in the other game too. A couple other guys in the late game. So I don't think that he's really that great of a value play. And on the Pistons side, yeah, you mentioned Jalen Duren. I really like the spot for him too. He's kind of a sneaky winner with this Cade injury. He sees the biggest usage bump in terms of his season average with Cade off of the floor. And Monty Williams has been talking about wanting to give him more touches in the post, which could just give him more opportunities for assist. And Sabonis, definitely not the best interior defender in the league. So I think that there is a good amount of upside for Jalen Duren here. Yeah, outside of that, I don't know if you want to touch on all how you see this guard stuff playing out in terms of the Hayes, Burks, Ivy, Sasser stuff.
So in terms of ownership, I think Ivy will be the highest, but I don't think you have to really work 6.3K is up there a little bit. I don't think if you like Ivy, you play Ivy. If you like Burks, you play Burks. Ivy is my favorite with the minutes floor. Burks, he treated us really well on that last show, but he's 5.4K. Ivy 6.3, that 900, especially on this slate. You're talking Kevin Huerter. When you stack on a slate where there isn't value, maybe we would be talking a little Kevin Huerter. But you compare him to Killian Hayes, you compare him to the Memphis guys. You just don't need to go there today, really. Killian's going to get all the ownership. I think Jaden's interesting. You can definitely play him together. But I don't know, man. Bojan Bogdanovic, what's your thought? I was going to bring it back to you. I think at least 2 of these Pistons, I like Hayes, Bogdanovic, Ivy, Duren. I don't know how many Pistons I want on this slate, though. Again, there's Memphis. Orlando's without Franz. There's multiple spots on this slate. It's a good 5-gamer, no doubt about that. I know I don't want to lock myself into too much of these Detroit guys. Hayes is by far the most popular. I think you can get away from him for the value on this slate. Ivy is definitely my second favorite guard, no doubt about that. Burks is the man, but he really needs to produce in those minutes. Probably no thank you there. Sasser, definitely no thanks. on a slate like this. And I did misspeak. Thank you. It's been a busy morning. I saw 7 to 10. It was days, not weeks, which is obviously a massive difference, but doesn't change this slate. But thank you, Detroit Tigers. Yeah, what are your thoughts? Talk about Bogdanovich too, but are you seeing the same? Like you like Ivy over Burks, or do you have a different take there?
I definitely think that Ivy is probably safe.
You.
Am I muted? I don't
know. It
if
doesn't look like you're on mute in StreamYard.
I don't know if that's on my end or your end.
I can't hear you. I hope it's my AirPods, but let us know in YouTube chat if it's somehow just me. I still don't got you though. He's good, so maybe it is me. He's good. All right. We can hear him. Go ahead. I can't hear you, so I'll figure it out. That's good though. Keep going.
Okay, so yeah, I was gonna touch on Bogdanovich really quick. Monty Williams has said that he's been playing him too many minutes. I think that he's kind of unsafe in terms of a minute ceiling. Only got to 27 last game. I don't know if that game was a blowout, but yeah, he's just been talking about playing him way too many minutes. I mean, look at he's played 36, 43, 37, 44, 39, 39, 35. Like, definitely throwing him out there for a little bit too much, I think. So he's a little bit unsafe, but he does see the biggest usage bump with Cade out. So I think that I would probably just X him out. I'm not really looking to pay 6.7K for somebody whose minutes are unsafe. I think that Ivy kind of falls to the same bucket, though. He's going to see the biggest uptick in the ball handling and playmaking with Cade out. Got a 25% usage rate, 23% assist percentage with Cade off the floor. Averages 36 DK points per 36 minutes. So he's definitely solid, but we've definitely seen times where Monty Williams will doghouse him and he can only play 25 minutes. Also, if he's guarding De'Aaron Fox, big risk of foul trouble. He's shown at times to be a little bit too handsy and has gotten into foul trouble really quickly in times where we played him. So I think that there's definitely some downside to him, but it's just such a big role that Cade leaves behind that you have to have consideration in a guy like Ivy. But yeah, Hayes is definitely my favorite one. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it was definitely some on my AirPods. I hope I'm good right now, but everyone else could. That's what matters most. Like Marcus Smart's right in that same range, and he's going to be 3-4 times higher owned, something like that. Who do you prefer there, knowing that Smart will probably still be 3-4 times higher owned? Smart and Ivy, that is.
Yeah, it's still going to be Smart for me, I think.
Yeah.
I just think there's
obviously play both. But.
Yeah, there's a little bit too much downside to Ivy. His minutes just aren't safe, really. And I do think that the foul risk is pretty big because I think that he will be guarding De'Aaron Fox. So I don't know.
Bogdanovich take? I mean, he hasn't really done anything since he carved your Utah team. But, man, there's a, like you said, with no Cade, and I think they could go to a lot of low post ISO stuff with them and let him work down there. I think it's interesting.
Yes, I don't know how much I don't know if you probably didn't hear my take on him, but
no,
Monty Williams,
when it was out. My bad.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, Monty Williams had talked about playing him too many minutes. So I don't know how true that is, how much we can rely on the coach speak. But I mean, if you just look at the minutes game log, he's played a ton lately, so there is probably some truth to that. They do have guys at the forward spot they can fill in with Knox and Livers, so I don't know. It's a little bit too risky for me to pay almost 7K for him.
I didn't hear that about the coach speak. So it definitely makes sense. And I mean, when did he say that? Was it after that Jazz game? Was it after the Golden State game? Because he went 42, 35, 27. So if he said it after the Utah or Golden State, he definitely stuck true to his word. And it was in Denver, but it wasn't even a back-to-back.
I don't know the exact date of it, but I know that it was after the Jazz game for sure.
Gotcha. All right, that takes a little interest away from it. Killian Hayes, by far the most popular play, good play. I like Duren. I like Sabonis, 2 center plays. And again, like the other centers, Biz, Hartenstein, there is centers, but I think I don't know. It's not crazy if you go Sabonis and Duren, but I like both of them individually, probably more so just one of the two and not take up 2 center spots. I don't think it's crazy, though. I like me some Ivy. Outside of that, I don't think you really need to get to this game is my final take on it. Let's keep it rolling. Next game on the slate, second at 7 p.m. Eastern. You go from a 242 total to a 217 total. Minnesota headed to Orlando. Minnesota's favored by 5 on the injury report. Nothing on the Minnesota side. Orlando side, though, Franz Wagner is out. Wendell Carter is out. Gary Harris is out. you see all those names and you expect maybe them to be popular, that Orlando that is. I really think Paulo is the only one that's going to get some ownership, and he's all the way up to 9K now. So, I mean, if you like Paulo, you like Paulo. I think his ownership, I don't know, 20%, something like that. I think this game is going to be very low owned, though, especially considering it's a 5-game slate. And Towns, Gobert, like I like Fox, I like Sabonis more. Obviously, prices are a little different, but really no Minnesota would just be one of those studs. I don't love it. Really, Paulo or bust for me. Start with Paulo, and then what's your take on the rest of the game?
Yeah, I think we definitely spent a lot less time on this game. There's really only a handful of guys you should be considering. Just with this game being such a low total, two of the better defensive teams. Obviously, the Wolves have been the best defensive team all year long. So, yeah, kind of risky to spend up at 9K for Paulo. I would assume he gets a lot of Jaden McDaniels on defense, but his role has been crazy the last 6 games, and obviously the last 2 games without Franz Wagner, he's just been dominating usage, dominating touch time, all that good stuff. 32 points per game over the last 6 games, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. So he's just been on fire, really rounding into form as a superstar in the league. So I definitely think you could play him regardless of matchup. He kind of seems matchup proof and seems a tad bit underpriced just in terms of the role. So he's kind of the only guy you're looking to on the Magic side, I would assume. I mean, we saw Caleb Houston and Chuma Okeke play really big minutes last game. I think it was an overtime game, but still, I mean, Chuma got 38 minutes. Caleb Houston got 36 minutes. I think that they're kind of done with Anthony Black. Markelle Fultz is back, but he's on a pretty strict minutes restriction, I would assume, just missing so much time with the knee injury. Obviously, like all the guys that you mentioned that are going to be out too. So there's a lot of minutes to fill in terms of the front courts. I think that those guys are definitely in play, but comparing them to the Grizzlies guys, comparing them to Killian Hayes and some of the Toronto guys, I think that you can get away from them. Chuma Okeke probably be my favorite value piece just because we've seen him in the past be a decent, like be at least fantasy relevant. So I think that he does still have that in the range of outcomes, but I don't know if I would want to lock up a spot in this early in the slate. And then
We'll say FanDuel is definitely going to be more popular, pretty popular actually. Power forward's really weak, 4.3K. It gets you a lot. So, I mean, I was kind of hoping you said you didn't like him at all, because I think those are the fades that I like to make on FanDuel, like just roster construction. I guess either site, like everyone's forced into the similar thinking. But man, power forward's definitely gross. You said it's his second favorite. Definitely has a rebounding floor. So that was the other thing to mind. And then Cole Anthony, a better price on FanDuel as well. But keep going.
Yeah, that's basically it on the Magic side. And then on the Wolves side, I think you're only really considering like 3 guys for me. It could just be 2, but Anthony Edwards, he's been on fire scoring the ball lately. He has 31 plus in 5 of his last 6 games, but he's kind of in the Shai Gilgeous bucket where he's just really scoring dependent, and he's only in those 6 games, he's only scored over 50 once, and that was with the rebounding spike, and you just don't really know when the game is going to come where he decides to rebound the ball. So a little bit too expensive for me to pay 9K for Ant with him just being so scoring dependent. I think Cat would be the preferred option on the Wolves side, but that's just the price tag point because the matchup really is not all that good. But he's kind of similar to DeMar DeRozan in some ways, where he's just a really solid cash play, but not that great of a GPP play. I mean, you have to go back 11 games to find a GPP-worthy score out of Cat, and I think most of the time the median outcome for him is going to be in the low 40s, about where he's projected. I don't really want to look to Rudy Gobert at 7.1K. I think there's better center spots. Jalen Duren for 100 cheaper. I think Naz Reid could definitely make your player pool, but also comparing him to all the other value spots, I do not like him more than the Grizzlies guys. So don't really have a ton of interest in this game.
Yeah, we're on the same page. I mean, looking at Paulo's usage these past like 4 games, it's absolutely insane. 9K feels a little expensive, but 33, 36, 41, 34. The dude is chucking 10, 4, 12 rebounds. He has a rebounding floor. He's actually playmaking too. Like the ball is just always in his hands without Franz here. So I
was going to mention that. I didn't really go super in depth on the Paulo stuff, but yeah, I mean, he's pretty much running the point for them right now. He's averaging almost 8 minutes of touch time over the last 6 games, which is like point guard level numbers. yeah, like you said, 33% usage rate, 27% assist percentage. I mean, he's even talked about it too. I had a tweet bookmarked about just like a press conference. He said that he's taking on much more of a load in terms of creating and scoring without Franz Wagner, because he said that, you know, at times you can just kind of let Franz do his thing, and not having him out there definitely puts a bigger workload on his back. He's going to have to carry the team if they want to continue win games without Franz. So yeah, definitely much more playmaking role for Paulo right now.
Yeah, it's just Paul or bust for me in that game. Again, FanDuel Chuma, with how bad power forward is, you're forced to play two. I think it makes a little more sense. Cole Anthony maybe more so on FanDuel, but DK, like, again, these Minnesota, like the price stands out like you said, but I mean it stands out for a reason. I don't want to go there really on this 5-gamer. Much prefer Sabonis and Fox are much different prices, but we still have a lot of good spots on this slate. So keep it rolling. Those are 2 7 p.m. Eastern games. This one at 7:30, again, 8:30 and 10:30 Eastern. 3 of 5 is this game. Portland Trailblazers, New York Knicks, 229 total. Knicks are favored by 12 on the injury report. Couple of Q tags for Portland. Jabari Walker, Matisse Thybulle, Moses Brown is out. DeAndre Ayton is doubtful. So we got Thybulle, Walker questionable, Ayton doubtful, Moses Brown out. Nothing on the Knicks side that is new. In terms of ownership, I think this game, Hartenstein is going to be one of the most popular centers on the slate. 6.4K, continues to start, play solid minutes. Randall 8-9, Brunson 9-1. Probably a max 1 spot for me on this slate, unless you're just game stacking it. Josh Hart, 4.8K. Like, I don't know, compare him to some of these Memphis values there. Portland side, much tougher for me to get to. It probably would just be Simons or bust. Does the Thybulle or Jabari Walker news do anything for like a Jeremy Grant or stuff like that? Probably not for me, but Simons, Hartenstein, I don't know. Again, not one of my favorite games. This next game we talk about Memphis and Dallas, and Toronto Lakers are better spots in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement with you. I might have a little bit more interest in this game than you do, though. Just, I mean, the injury side of the Blazers, I mean, they're going to be without Ayton again. If they don't have Jabari Walker and Matisse Thybulle, you're looking at a 7.5-man rotation. I mean, they ran out pretty much 7 guys for most of the minutes last game, and kind of got a couple for Murray, got a couple for Baji, but those guys are just not NBA level talents right now. So I think they're going to really just stick with their core group of guys. Going to see a lot of Simons, a lot of Grant, Sharp, Duop-Reith. So I have interest in all of those guys a little bit, regardless of the matchup. The Knicks have been pretty much about the same since Mitchell Robinson left. Obviously he's done for the year. They're about 15th overall in the season, which is about their season average with Mitchell Robinson. About the same for rim and 3-point defense. So really not much stands out from a matchup standpoint for the Blazers, but on the Knicks, yeah, the Blazers are one of the worst rim defenses in the league, bottom 3 in the rim defense, but they're a top 2 3-point defense. So I think that the interior scorers on the Knicks side are in a pretty big spot. Guys like Randall, guys like Isaiah Hartenstein. But I'll start with the Blazers side. Anthony Simons, he had a huge game last time versus the Nets, went for 38, 11, and 4 on 13 of 25 shooting for 63 DK points. And I think that anytime that somebody in this range has that type of upside, you got to have interest in them. I mean, you're comparing him to like Karl-Anthony Towns in that same price range, who I assume is getting more ownership. I much prefer Ant. Different position, but always like Ant. I mean, he's probably going to draw the OG Anunoby assignment, which would be tough, but I think from a minutes and shot volume standpoint, he could just have a huge game just from those perspectives. I think that 40 regulation minutes are definitely on the table. Outside of that, though, I don't really want to get to like Jeremy Grant. He doesn't really provide much from a peripheral standpoint, just needs to get there from scoring. Scoot is kind of splitting minutes with Brogdon now, with them healthy. I think Shaedon Sharp is kind of interesting, though, at 5.7K. This is a guy that was around 7K most of the season, got up to 40 minutes last game, so the minutes restriction coming back from injury seems to be completely off. So I think that he's pretty interesting at 5.7K, not looking at any ownership. I think projections are going to be a little bit slow to react to the minutes. But we saw earlier in the season, Chauncey Billups just running him out there for insane minutes, like 42 in regulation a lot of the time. So I think that he's pretty interesting. And I would have interest in Duop-Reith if Jabari Walker was out, because behind him they would just have no depth in the front court, and I don't think they're going to play Baji really more than 5 to 6 minutes, just because he's pretty terrible and just goes out there to foul guys. So I don't think that he's really going to eat into the minutes from Reith at all. And he's shown a pretty solid ceiling, had 40 points in 2 games recently.
If Walker was in, you wouldn't get there?
No, I don't think so. I think that they'll have a easier time splitting up those center minutes between the two of them.
Yep, makes sense.
And then on the Knicks side, I don't really want to pay 9.1K for Jalen Brunson. I don't really know what he's done to deserve that price tag. He's been great all year long, really, really solid. But from an upside standpoint, I don't see him getting there in this one. Much prefer Julius Randle, who's going to have a better matchup too, with the Blazers being so bad on the interior defense. Going to have a size advantage over Jeremy Grant as well. And he's been on a roll scoring lately. He's had 35 plus real points in 3 of his last 4 games, and should see close to 40 minutes in a close game. And yeah, I do like Isaiah Hartenstein a ton. Probably my favorite center play on the whole slate. Blazers bottom 4 in DVP to the center position. Hartenstein has seen his stock upside increase over the past 4 games, has numbers of 6, 4, 5, and 6 blocks and steals total over his last 4 games. And the Blazers give up the 2nd most blocks and 4th most steals to opposing centers. So I think that gives Hartenstein a really solid floor ceiling combo. And he's really the only trusted big man on this roster right now. They're not giving Ochoa minutes. They're not giving Sims minutes right now. So I think that there's going to be a time coming up pretty soon where we see Hartenstein play 42 to 44 regulation minutes. So I really like the spot for Hartenstein here. And that's really where I'm looking at in this game.
Yeah, I definitely like Hartenstein too. The Sharp is interesting. The minutes, he's definitely not projecting very well. I don't think ownership's really going to follow. But, man, I mean, it would feel better. Maybe, like, if Matisse Thybulle is out, maybe it would project a little better with the rotation being more condensed, but it doesn't sound like Thybulle news really does much for Sharp. And, like, if he's getting those minutes anyway, when he's out there, he's going to chuck. Price tag's there, and, yeah, we were paying a lot more for him before, so I do like that shout. I like Anthony, like I said, before even this game, I said Anthony Simons, Hartenstein, and maybe one of Randall and Brunson. So looking at Simons, though, I'm going to ask you, like, a rank question. Jaren Jackson 7.7, Simons is 7.7, Cat 7.7, Siakam's 8K. Where would you don't need to remember all those or put them there, but like who are your 2 favorites of that bunch?
It'd be Jaren Jackson and Simons for me.
I like it. And like, because yeah, Bane's 8.5, Scotty's 8.7. They're all going to get some ownership up top there, but like Reeves, Gobert, I know you have more interest in those guys. So I like Anthony Simons for sure in this spot. He's going to chuck. He's going to play all the minutes. Always an Anthony Simons guy there. So love it. That game, this next 2 games we're going to talk about, especially this Memphis-Dallas game, like how I see this late, Minnesota-Orlando, one of the easier fades outside of really Paulo, or if you want to one-off something. I don't have as much interest in this Portland Knicks game. I think you have a little more, but you still like these other games more, I take it, when we get to them. So right here, Memphis and Dallas, looking at 235 total. Dallas favored by 8, and a lot of injury news, or important injury news in this one. Ja is out. Derrick Rose is out. Ja out for the year. And pricing, definitely sad to see Ja out for the year. Very fun for the NBA, but pricing was out for this slate prior to that Ja news, which is why these Memphis guys are not priced accordingly. Jaren Jackson is questionable. So, man, if Jaren Jackson is out in this spot too, everyone always asks, how many Grizzlies too many? You can play 5 of them, I think, pretty easily. If Jackson's in, I still think 4 is plenty fine as well. I'll start with that talk. How many is too many? What does Jaren Jackson news do? We talked earlier, you don't really have a lean on him. Again, I think you'll have, at least I will have, plenty of roster spots to navigate that Jaren Jackson news, though. Break down this one, start with the Memphis side, and then get to Dallas.
Yeah, so with Santi Aldama doubtful, should see pretty big minutes from guys like Vince Williams and Zaire Williams. If Jaren Jackson is out, that just kind of provides them with a higher minute ceiling. I think that might bring David Roddy back into the rotation a little bit. Not sure who they would start. I think just size-wise, you could probably get away with like a Zaire or Vince Williams just because the Dallas they don't really have like an Anthony Davis or somebody like that down low. So I think you can get away with a smaller lineup. But yeah, the Mavericks are pretty healthy now, getting Grant Williams and Luka back here, both probable. Still have Exum, Kleber, and Lively out, but Kyrie Irving back to playing his full minutes. So yeah, I'll start with the Grizzlies side. Ja Morant going to leave behind 31% usage rate and 35 minutes. So that should be absorbed mainly by Desmond Bane and Marcus Smart usage-wise. And I think minutes-wise, that will definitely give a bigger boost to Luke Kennard, who I'm seeing projected in the starting lineup. Probably going to be pretty popular as a value play. I think you could get away from it just because he's pretty scoring dependent. I don't think he's going to add much of the rebounds and assist stuff to his game. Just going to be really needed to be out there to score a ton of points, which he could definitely do. But I don't know if the ultimate ceiling is the same as some of these other guys, like the Killian Hayes, like Vince Williams. Even I don't know if he can match those guys. But yeah, starting with Desmond Bane, he leads the team in usage with Ja Morant off the floor, with Jaren Jackson right behind him. But Bane has a 25% assist percentage, second on the team behind Marcus Smart. So the numbers might be a little bit skewed because there was obviously a big chunk of the season where Marcus Smart was out, 6 to 8 weeks or whatever it was. So the numbers might be a bit skewed in Desmond Bane's directions. I think that we'll probably see more point Marcus Smart than we will Desmond Bane, but Bane is definitely going to be the number one scoring option for the team. So I definitely have a ton of interest in him, but I think there is a couple pivots in that same range, like Scotty Barnes coming in at less ownership. I think you can get away from Bane. I just don't think that he's as much of like a smash play as the ownership is kind of dictating. I think there are ways to get away from him. And yeah, I think Jaren Jackson Jr., if he's in, he's a really strong play as well. He's actually shown some upside lately, scored 50.75 and 53 DK points in the last 2 games, and finally got to double-digit rebounds last game for only the 3rd time all season, which is something that I mentioned last time we were talking about the Grizzlies. The rebounding numbers have cratered for him.
Ever since that game, he was also listening. Him and Monty Williams, they were listening to that show, and they made some adjustments.
Yep. They're smart guys listening to 2 guys talking fantasy, making some adjustments to the team. But yeah, I think that he's a great play, though. Mavericks are bottom 3 in DVP to power forwards this season. And yeah, JJ is second on the team in usage behind Bane. So he's going to see a ton of usage come his way if he's in. I would expect him to be a full go. Not sure that a knee contusion is something that would hold you out or make you even limited. It's more just like a bone bruise type thing. So I think that he'll be okay. But Marcus Smart probably going to be my preferred play on the Grizzlies side. Recent performance-wise, 43, 50 DK points, shooting the ball really well. He's had a solid role with Ja off the court this season, 3rd on the team in usage, 1st in assist percentage, and he averages 36.8 DK points per 36 minutes with Ja off the court. Seen 39, 38 minutes in back-to-back games, so I think that he's a pretty easy core play for me tonight. I think the downside for him is that he will be guarding Luka most likely, which obviously brings a lot of foul risk. Luka's a pretty good at drawing fouls, so I think there's a little bit of downside to him, but I'm not really looking to lean into that too much. I like Marcus Smart a ton here. And then the value guys, I just prefer Vince Williams and Zaire Williams over Luke Kennard and Bismack Biyombo. I just think that they have way higher ceilings. I mean, even Zaire, he's seen his minutes creep up last 3 games. Went from 18 all the way up to 27 minutes over the last 3 games, and we have him projected for about 25 tonight. So he's a really solid value option, and I would be looking to get away from Luke Kennard and Bismack Biyombo chalk personally. And on the Mavericks side, it's pretty much just Luka or Kyrie. I think Luka is in a good spot here. Did mention he'll see Marcus Smart on defense, which don't want to look super deep into from a game log standpoint. The one time that they played earlier this season when Marcus Smart was healthy, Luka went for 76.5 DK points. But outside of that, Smart has held him in check in 8 prior meetings when Marcus Smart was on the Celtics. Luka had scored no more than 64.5 DK points. Obviously, a much different team. Like the Celtics are a much better overall defense than the Grizzlies, but still worth noting, Luka is going to be guarded by Smart a lot. So I think there's a little bit of downside, but 11.5K is pretty solid price tag for him in terms of the upside that he provides. I think that I just prefer Kyrie for $1,700 cheaper, or $2,700 cheaper. he returned from an injury 4 games ago and really hasn't been limited at all. Got up to 39 minutes last game, scored 51 DK points in 3 straight games, got up to 64 last game, and he's going to be guarded by a much weaker defender, probably Desmond Bane. So I think that he should cook here, and I think just with how well he's played, he's my preferred option on the Mavericks side. And then I think that all the secondary guys are kind of just fine as last man in. I think that Derrick Jones Jr. will probably be the preferred guy. Just I could see his minutes getting up there in this type of game.
Dwight Powell, same thoughts. Last piece in you're good with, but it's a center position, no strong lean.
Yeah, I mean, he just doesn't really provide too much from a fantasy perspective. 24.
Yeah.
He topped out. He had 45 a couple games ago, but I think that was a pretty big outlier.
Him or Biz, if you had to pick, $400 difference.
I'd probably go Biz.
I like it.
Yeah,
definitely tough. I mean, I love Hartenstein. We talked about Sabonis. Like, there's other options at center you can get to, like the Randalls, ADs. You can also play at center. It's a solid center night, but it's not as strong. Like a lot of shows we've had, it's like if you don't play 2 centers, it's maybe not a mistake, but most of my lineups a lot of days have been 2 centers. I don't think this necessarily is that day. The Luka Kyrie is interesting. Like, I think Luka's gonna be higher, and I feel pretty confident on that. I don't know about double the ownership. I would guess I wouldn't be too shocked. There's just enough value on this slate, and at the end of the day, 11.5 is too cheap. But Kyrie, yeah, he's been. It might be the old Kyrie back at least for DFS production. Just him and Luka running the show, and the minutes are up there. So I love that price at 8.8K. Not really too much more to add. Like, I'm not worried about Smart at all. The first thing that when you were breaking down those numbers, I was like, Celtics team defense is a million times better, their help, etc. So that 70-60 put on Smart, I could definitely see another 76 piece this year there. I like Vince Williams a lot. Smart's chalk. I mean, yeah, how many's too many? I guess we'll end on that question because you mentioned the Luke Kennards, the Biz, Jaren Jackson. If he plays, he's going to get some ownership. Like all these guys, Zaire, like they're all going to get some ownership to an extent. Is there anybody you'd group away? Is there any max you would set with these guys?
I'd love to get your thoughts on it because I feel like having 3 of Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Marcus Smart might be too much in terms of limiting yourself from a ceiling perspective. I would probably want to be max 2 of those 3 just because they're all kind of eating into each other, I guess, in different ways from an upside standpoint. Like those are going to be the 3 main guys that are scoring the ball. So I kind of struggle to think that all 3 of them can get there. I guess the price tags are fine, but that
makes sense. If you're going out of your, like, if I'm making like 20 to 150 teams, I'm not going to make that rule because I know I'm making so many. If I'm hand building or only doing like 5 or something, I probably would max 2 of those 3. And if I did do all 3, I know like in the solver, I'm bumping Luka or Kyrie, and you just hope to get the OT. Just the game goes nuts. Like there's only 5 games on a slate. So I would definitely be playing one of those guys. But you say that, it would have to pretty much be Kyrie because at the prices of Jackson, JJJ, Bane, and Smart, like you're probably not getting Luka. So yeah, I think that makes some sense.
Yeah, just thinking like group wise, because I think that if you land on Jaren Jackson and Marcus Smart, then it just makes I feel like it makes more sense to get to like Scotty Barnes or Siakam or I don't know, somebody on Sacramento or something like that. So I would probably want to be max 2 of those 3 personally. I think that you could probably be max 2 to 3 of Kennard, Vince, and Zaire. I think that's probably I'd probably let everybody else flow because those are really the only guys that you're considering. So I think you could easily get onto 4 guys here. I think 5 might be a bit too much.
And then someone asked, any thoughts on Gilliard? Definitely would not get to. It's even up right now.
I don't see projections.
I don't even think he is. I think he might be in the G League.
Yeah, me.
Yeah, definitely. Regardless, don't play him. But I'm not even sure he's on the squad, to be honest. Yeah, don't go there. Who are the chalk players? I think Jordan answered it very well. You just got in. A lot of the Memphis we just talked about, Killian Hayes, and yeah, Marcus Smart, a part of that Memphis value. We got 1 game left. You can always go to the cash report. What I try and do, I put 4 core plays on both sites, 4 core plays that I'm obviously playing, and I try and have it be the chalkiest players that gives you the most flexibility to fill out the roster after that. So I think checking the cash report is a good first step on finding chalk on both sides, whether you're a GPP player, cash player, knowing who is going to be popular, then making stands after that is very important. So much we have correlation tools, ceiling rankings, projections updated throughout the night, which you definitely need. Slate plan done by Rio, cash report, GPP core report. Speaking of, we have a very popular or very confident person in chat, and that is our man Nades over here. Core's already posted. Everyone else is playing for second place, so it might be time to withdraw some entries over here. But hey, Nades does have his cores up. Check that out. And of course, showdown content as well. PGA, that goes on Thursday. Hoop and Tambo just got off the show. MMA's back this week. Super pumped for that. NFL playoffs, going to be a lot of action Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Plenty of money to be made. No better time, no better place. Head over to SHIPITNation.com. Weekly, monthly, 6-month, and annual packages. As cheap as you can find for the quality. And Discord, very great community. A lot of people in YouTube chat, talks in the Discord as well. A lot of valuable information there. So head over to SHIPITNation.com if you want to give us a try. Again, as low as weekly for $25 a week. Last game of the slate, Rio. Again, this one is 2 hours after. It's on an island. You will have a showdown core report for it. Pretty solid prize pools. Toronto Raptors, Los Angeles Lakers, 236 total. Lakers are favored by 5. Looking at the injury report, Jakob Poeltl's out. Big news over there. We will touch on who we think is starting, but I think there's multiple options they can go. So no Jakob Poeltl on the Lakers side. Rui is doubtful. LeBron is questionable, which we are assuming is a probable tag. Starting, I'll just throw it right to you. So I think LeBron and AD get some ownership. Siakam and Barnes, I think, get some ownership. If you're looking for stud spends, I think this game offers a lot of it. And that is why, like, if you're playing Memphis value or some Memphis pieces, if you have some of this game in it, that Jaren Jackson news, you will have plenty of flexibility to react whatever way it does may break. So I'm totally fine plugging Jaren Jackson in my lineup and being good with that, even though there's only 2 games late. Talking value in this one, Chris Boucher, Gary Trent. Quickly's been balling. He's all the way up to 7K, though. We talked a little pre-show, but I think Raptors can go multiple ways. Chris Boucher, Thad Young, Jonte Porter, who someone was mentioning earlier, who's all the way down at 3.1K. I don't even think it's the craziest. I know you don't think it's going to happen, but they go Siakam, they go Scotty, Barrett, and they just play bigger that way. It doesn't make as much sense with AD, but I think they have a lot of different ways they can go with starters. Talk about your leans. Mine is, if you plug 3.1K, so we got Thad Young and Jonte Porter, 3.1K, 3K. If either of them start, I'm totally good with them. I'd make sure to have that $100, assuming like you don't have any other pieces in this game. If neither of them start, yeah, again, I would probably want a couple other pieces in this game to maybe mess around with some stuff. Like if they did go a Boucher or a Siakam or something like that. But break down this game. Raptors starting, what Jakob Poeltl does out for them, and then touch on this Lakers side.
Yeah, so right now they have one of these sites has Boucher as the projected starter. I don't necessarily think they're going to go there. It makes a lot of sense to not go there. I think that Boucher is going to play a good amount of minutes tonight. He's going to have to play a lot of minutes, but just matchup-wise, he's going to be extremely undersized and just it'll be a terrible matchup for Boucher if
too little.
Too small.
Too little in this way. Weight room.
Yeah. Yeah, way too small. And he's just not agile enough to stay in front of Anthony Davis. So I think that if Boucher's starting, Anthony Davis is he's going to smash. But regardless, I love AD tonight, but I'll get to that a little bit later. I could see Jonte Porter or Thad Young starting and just kind of soaking up that first rotation with Anthony Davis, because AD is going to play a full first quarter stint, which you're going to need size against him when he's out there. So it makes sense to kind of try to stagger Boucher away from him, get him paired up with Christian Wood. Looks much better. So I think that staggering him is the best way to play it for the Raptors if that's what they're going to do. Not sure, but we'll have to keep an eye on the starters. And yeah, in terms of matchup, though, the Lakers been really slipping defensively lately. They played really bad all year round, or all around lately. And you see LeBron talk about it. You see Darwin Ham talking about it. Lakers have fallen to dead last 3-point defense, 4th worst in transition. Still top half of the league in the rim defense. So I think that guys like Scotty Barnes, quickly, RJ Barrett even are in pretty good spots here. Start with Scotty Barnes. He's going to have to pick up a pretty big rebounding responsibility with Jakob Poeltl out. has seen a bit of a usage decrease with Quickly and Barrett entering the starting lineup, down to 21% usage rate, 24% assist percentage, whereas he was much higher in the season. Price tag's really solid for him versus struggling Lakers defense. And I think in the two spots where they're struggling the most, which is 3-point defense and transition, that really bodes well for Scotty Barnes. So I like him a lot here and much prefer him to Desmond Bane and some other guys in that same range. Don't really like the spot as much for Pascal Siakam. Just he looks to get to the rim a lot more. He's averaging a ton of drives per game. I just don't think that this matchup is as good as it is for him than it is for Scotty Barnes and Emmanuel Quickly. I really like the spot here for Quickly, but the issue is he's 7K now, and you're sharing usage with Scotty Barnes, Siakam. You're going to be splitting some point guard minutes with Dennis Schroeder. So 7K is pretty tough to pay for him, but we have loved to attack the Lakers all year long with their on-ball defense, and Lakers are bottom 10 in DVP to point guards. So I think there is a ton of upside for him if he can get the minutes, but tough to know how much he's going to play. Matchup-wise, pretty solid for RJ Barrett as well as a three-point shooter. He showed a huge ceiling last game against the Warriors. Not sure. I saw Pensac mention it earlier. I'm not sure if this is kind of going to be the norm for him or if that was just an outlier. But if he actually going to be taking that many shots a game, would he take 20? Yeah, it took 20 shots.
He shot it really well. Feels like the norm might be a little stretched. I feel like they just got too many guys for that to be the norm, but maybe hot hand, like if he's going to shoot like that, they'll get him the rock, is my take.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with you there. I think we know what RJ Barrett is and what he provides to teams. So I would say that's more so just an outlier performance from him, but still a solid matchup. Don't really want to get to Dennis Schroeder, though. He's just too expensive for splitting backup point guard minutes. I think the same could kind of be said for Gary Trent, although the matchup's a little bit better for him as a three-point shooter. But yeah, the Chris Boucher is interesting talking point. He should see a minutes increase as as a second, third string center, whatever you want to consider him. But yeah, I mentioned the downside. If he's starting, I think that he could get into foul trouble pretty quickly. So I would much prefer him off the bench. And I think that having him off the bench would lower his ownership, where we're seeing him. He's in the mid-teens right now, so it's not too crazy. I would expect him. Was expecting a little bit more, but yeah, I don't know if I want to get there if he's starting. I would much rather prefer him off the bench. He can still show upside even in 18 to 20 minutes. So I think he's fine regardless. But I would love to get your take on that, though. Just it's kind of tough to break down not knowing what the Raptors are going to do.
It definitely is, and my thoughts is to be like even whoever does start there, like Siakam, Scotty, Quickly, RJ, like there's Gary Trent, like all these dudes like to chuck as well. It's not like there's going to be tons of usage. It's not like offense is going to run through them. You still got to deal with AD. Like I just think there's enough other value on this slate or cheap pieces. I'd be totally fine having what. If you like Boucher, play Boucher. If you think it's going to be one of these Thad or Porter down there, like plug them in. But I think there's enough uncertainty with enough value on this slate where I think getting away from it and just playing the stars of Scotty, Quickly, Siakam, even Gary Trent. Like I like Gary Trent at 4-4 more than playing Russian roulette with which guy need the starter, right? Like if you have 3.1K and they end up going Siakam at the 5 or Boucher or something, then you're really scrambling. You don't want to play Porter or Thad Young if they're not starting. At least I definitely don't on a slate like this. So I just think there's more outs for it to go bad. And on this slate with the 2 hours after lock, unless we get the news, sometimes sometimes teams will come out and say he's going to be starting for Jakob Poeltl. Assuming that's not the case, though, I just think avoiding it's probably the easier way to go than not, especially if you're only playing a couple teams. Kicking it back to you, would you max one of AD, Bron? Would you make any max of Siakam, Scotty, Quickly? Or, you only can play so many of those guys in a game stack because of their prices. But, yeah, would you make any of those rules?
Yeah, usually I like to be max 1 LeBron and AD, so I would probably make that rule, and then probably max 2 of the 3 of Barnes, Siakam, Quickly. Just kind of want to bring it back to the point you said, just with so many guys competing for usage, it just made me think about the game a couple of games ago where the Raptors were playing the Grizzlies, I believe, and you had a lineup out there towards the end with it was like Siakam, Barnes, Quickly, Barrett, and Schroeder, I think was the 5 they had out there. And it was just really, it was tough to watch because you literally had 5 guys like asking for the ball like trying to take the ball up. It was just like
I remember that game.
Yeah,
against Memphis, I want to say, or something. They're all hoopers themselves, and there's so much space on the court when it's them. Like they all think they got that matchup. So yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, this is just the current roster that like the personnel they have right now is just not going to work. Obviously, they've talked about being sellers at the deadline with Siakam. I know that there was a report that Dennis Schroeder wanted to lead his own team, which it's like come on, bro, you had the chance.
Germany.
Yeah,
he'll lead Germany. I mean, he did play well during FIBA, but he ain't leading the NBA squad.
Yeah, like he's already like 31 now. He's like surprisingly older than he seems. I think that the ship has kind of sailed on him to be a lead point guard, but yeah, just this current roster that they have right now is just it's not going to work out. I think that they have pieces that can work out, but it's just too many ball dominant type players. I don't think that it's just going to work out very well for the long term. But yeah, getting back to the DFS perspective, yeah, I'm siding with Anthony Davis in this game, though. I just think that he's going to smash whoever's in front of him. The Lakers obviously been struggling, and I think the best way to get it going is just to funnel your offense through AD. He's dropped 70-plus DK points twice in his last 5 games. I don't think there's not many players on this slate that have that type of upside. And at 10.1K, he's looking like a really strong spend up. He's going to be really, really high owned, but I think rightfully so. And it's huge that he has power forward eligibility because now we can play, 2 value centers if we need to get out to him. There's enough value to get to him. So he's my preferred option in this game and probably on the whole slate. And I was going to mention Christian Wood. I think that he's an interesting value piece, though, with center eligibility. You're looking at, priced around Dwight Powell, priced around Bismack Biyombo. Just this Cam Reddish stuff with him in the starting lineup has just been terrible. It's not looking good, and I think that they're going to eventually start to shift more of those minutes to Christian Wood and D'Angelo Russell off the bench. So I think Christian Wood becomes a pretty interesting value option, and we know that he's a guy that can put up points in a hurry. He's kind of like the Naz Reid of the Lakers team with, he's got a really big upside off the bench. I think he's kind of interesting. And that was the guy that I was going to mention for like the showdown. He'll definitely be in the write-up tonight, but I even think that he could be in play in the main slate with, coming in no ownership compared to some of the guys that are coming with ownership. So I think he's interesting for sure. And then don't really have a lot of interest though. I don't really like the spot for LeBron. I think that Reeves is a little bit too expensive with D'Angelo Russell back in the lineup. So I would really just be looking at Anthony Davis on the Lakers side.
Yeah, I definitely AD by far my favorite Lakers spot for sure. Did you have any thoughts on Gary Trent?
Yeah, I mentioned him slightly. I don't really. I mean, it really depends on the starting lineup because if what you said comes true with Siakam moving up to the 5, then that probably means Gary Trent is starting. I would guess.
It would have to. Yeah. So if he gets the nod at starter, you'd be good with it. But otherwise, there's other better spots. But like the Vince Williams. You'd rather the Memphis guys in that same range, probably. Yeah,
I mean, I guess if you're comparing him to like Luke Kennard, though, it's kind of the same play. $100 more. I don't really. I mean, you're getting a little bit of an ownership discount, I think.
Yeah.
I'm seeing conflicting things because
I'm guessing Luke Kennard's gonna. I think the Memphis are gonna overtake these similar value in spots. So let's assume it is Memphis. It is Kennard because that's what. Pretty much was comparing very similar players. I mean, they're shooters. They need to hit some shots. Who would you prefer there?
I would honestly just let ownership dictate it because I think they're pretty much the same play. So if one guy's coming in 35 plus and the other one is 15, then give me the guy at 15. Just DFS 101 kind of.
Yeah. And then, so like this is Boucher or Biz. Like this is where I lean just Biz because I know, like by the time that game on an island starts and it's you said you were good with Boucher off the bench, so you might have a different answer. I feel safer with Biz, but you're talking, I guess GPPs and you're talking first place, large field stuff. Like Biz ceiling definitely is capped. Boucher could find extended run in a spot like this. And he's definitely the better point per minute guy. So I don't know. Maybe I'm circling back a little bit. Like cash games, it's 100% Biz. No doubt about that. But GPP, is it Boucher?
I think so, yeah. I mean, we won't know the starting lineup, so you're definitely taking a risk. But I think, there's ways to get away from it if Boucher's, obviously Boucher's going to project better as a starter, but I think there's a little bit more downside to him as a starter.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. If you're playing Boucher, everything you've said, I'd want him more off the bench. However, because Boucher is just center, because he's power forward as well,
Yeah.
But because this game's on an island back here, if he doesn't start, he's definitely not going to be played. Even if he does, I think his ownership has to be capped to an extent with this game's going to get some ownership, but the ADs of the world and stuff, you're not dropping AD to Boucher or whatever it may be. So I still think his ownership is stays in check regardless, and Biz is probably higher owned. Awesome stuff. Hey, I will say, before people leave, like they usually do right after the last game, rightfully so, time is money. Do us a favor, hit that like button on the way out. I did not ask much during the show, and I'm looking at the numbers now. Hurtful for sure, and I don't want to get a little call from one of the bosses reaming me out for those likes. So I do appreciate, before you take a hike, hit that like. Tambo would be proud on that as well. And if you do want to join us at ShipItNation.com, so many sports, golf going on now, MMA going on, NFL playoffs, NBA, baseball before you know it, everything you need, projections, showdown core report. Definitely a good time today with that game on an island. Get those main first 4 games on, spend a little time with the fam, eat some dinner, come back and get some showdown winners in there. Appreciate it, Jake. Appreciate it, Big Cat, Michael, everyone in here as always. Hope you guys have a great night, guys and girls. Have a great night. We're looking to see some Shipping Nation logos up top. For my man Rio, I'm Titletown. Be safe. Have a good one.